Good afternoon, Tzaneen. Good afternoon, all of you Bulletineers. Well, we had an eventful morning and a little bit of an eventful afternoon too, don't you think? I think that it is worth a mention that this little drive show by Bulletin every single day so far has reached 1.4 million people. 1.4 million people are watching our shows and watching these live broadcasts, watching these videos. And that means that there's 1.4 million people with literally nothing better to do. Okay? And that also means that all of you guys are staying at home. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you that you are being responsible enough to stay at home. Right. Enough of that. We are now approaching Tzaneen on the R71 from Nkuankua's side. As you can see that there are indeed police officers here at the roadblock, and what they are doing is they're stopping vehicles and they're checking. Hey, Tom Voigt. Dankie die bra. Ja, is waar, nee. Right, so I happen to know a lot of these police officers, so they're very friendly towards the media. And they've come to know me now as well. They've given me the nickname Joe Nana Joe. So, yeah, it's good. Right, so we're back in business again. We're driving up past Premji's. We will see what it looks like in town. This morning, can we just talk about what happened with Bheki Cele? I don't know. I was actually shocked. I was appalled and I was shocked because the minister waltzes in here with great pomp and ceremony. First of all, he was supposed to fly here, and this is apparently why he was late. So he came by car, like, you know, the average normal human being. He came by car. Then, and this is where the shocking part comes in, he waltzes into the CBD like he's some celebrity. You're not a celebrity, Mr. Minister. Where's the leadership? Where did we go wrong? Did we find a way? Did the politicians in this country really find a way to take a global pandemic and swing it into a political campaign? I mean, you're walking around shaking people's hands, taking photos of people, doing a jive. This is not a joke, Mr. Minister. You're the Minister of Police. You are the one that is supposed to give leadership to the masses. Do you people understand? And when I say you people, I'm talking about the politicians that are sitting there and rubbing their hands together on the power trip that they're currently experiencing, or that they've been handed. They don't seem to understand that this week alone, 16 million people came into the streets of this country for their grants. 16 million. This is exactly where the problem is. That the majority of South Africans that are not tax-paying citizens are living off grants. 16 million people are living off grants. Those people lined the streets this week. Do you still expect us to believe that their infection rate currently is 1,300 and something. I'm sorry. Judging by what I saw today, this cannot possibly be. How can you waltz in as if you are some celebrity and you're addressing your fans? How is this condonable? How do you do this? You were supposed to come here, Mr. Minister, and you were supposed to tell these people that every time they behave in the way that they do, they are placing not just their lives, but every other person around them's lives in danger. The speech that you gave, I'm sorry, but it meant nothing. So here we're in downtown Tzaneen. I'm upset, guys. There were no roadblocks before the minister and his cowboy hat arrived in this town. There's a homeless guy. Is he not supposed to be a Jetty 3? So what was the purpose of this whole jawl that you came and had here in Tzaneen today? Because you said absolutely nothing, and you did even less. You took it as a joke to walk around here and tell people, where's your line? Where's your line? Well, Mr. Minister, where was your line when there was 100 people standing around you? You lapped up the attention that all these people gave you. You were supposed to tell them that you're supposed to keep your distance. In fact, your bodyguards were supposed to keep the distance for you, but they didn't even do that. How many of those people were infected? Nobody knows. South Africa's capacity at the moment, we can only conduct something like 5,000 or 6,000 tests a day. So I spoke to a friend of mine just now, and they did the calculations. It would take something like a year to test every single person in this country. So how are we going to do that? But as we're driving through the streets now, I see not one police officer doing a patrol. I see no traffic cops, which is not unusual in Tzaneen because we don't see them anyway, unless you go and look for some shade under the R71. But I see nothing. I want to drive up to that roadblock and see if that roadblock is still there. But bring a minister into town, and you have every single police officer available at the command center. We don't need your police officers to guard you, Mr. Minister. We need your police officers to guard us. That's their job. That's why we pay them. In fact, that's why we pay you, is to order them to do these things. But that's not good enough. Because if you had to actually just do your work, do your job, you wouldn't be getting all the attention that you're getting from your loving fans. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to take a drive up to the lifestyle center. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to drive up to the lifestyle center. I'm going to take a drive to this roadblock here and go and look at what's happening there. And when I asked him, when I asked His Excellency a very, very valid question, and it's quite a sore point really, because there are not enough policemen in this town to curb the surge of crime that is going to hit this town by force. Just last night alone, there were 2 break-ins or 2 break-in attempts in Cirkelweg and King Edward Street and Tweedelaan. And you know what? No one could respond. You know why? Because they have now prohibited the neighborhood watchers and the farm watchers to do patrols. So when I asked him what worked about it, he didn't even give me a proper answer. Because it doesn't matter. So now they're going to send in the military. Right, do that. Fantastic idea. But how many are you sending? Because how many do we have? So we don't have enough. Sorry guys, the signal cut out there for a second. So here's that roadblock. Do you remember what it looked like this morning or this afternoon before Clint Eastwood and the gang arrived? Do you remember? There was all these traffic cones, there was hundreds of people here. So I count one police vehicle and one canine security vehicle. I don't see any of the cones, I don't see any of the bright shiny signs that they had up there. Nothing. So to get back to the point here, they want to send the military. Great, do that. You should have actually done that right from the start. But they couldn't because we don't have enough soldiers. So 7SI, which is 7 South African Infantry, sent a battalion. Okay? They're not in Tzaneen. They've made their base at Ben Vorster High School. But they've all been sent to Burgersfort today. So now the handful of soldiers that you sent us, they're not even here. They're in Burgersfort because they had a problem there. Really? Well, we had a freaking problem here today and yesterday. So let's look at this roadblock. Now they're starting to call up the reserves. The reserve force will probably be our only saving grace. But there aren't enough of those men around. But His Highness said nothing about that, did he? Another interesting point that we need to think about is now he says that the taxi drivers must give all of their okay, so here's the wonderful roadblock, guys, the beautiful roadblock that we had today. Here we go. One police vehicle, one Limpopo traffic police vehicle, and the canine security. Anyway, so here's the other thing we need to remember. So he says that the taxi drivers need to give their passengers masks. Right, so I spoke to this friend of mine and he raised a very interesting question. Or he posed a potential problem that we are going to face. So you drive a taxi, or you take a taxi. You don't drive it, you're a commuter, you use a taxi to commute to town. That trip costs you 20 Rand. Now, the taxi driver, he can't fill up his taxi anymore, and so he has half capacity or 70% capacity or whatever. I don't know how they calculate the percentage. But now you're asking this guy to hand out 30 and 40 Rand masks to his passengers, but he's only getting 20 Rand fare. So what's he going to do? He's going to give out the masks. When he drops you off, he's going to take your mask back and give it to the next oak. Now how on earth does that make sense? And then Bheki Cele goes and quotes Hitler. I mean, the guy quoted Hitler, guys. Yeah. I don't know. I was talking to a policeman just now, during this whole Bheki carnival, and he was a member of the task force, and he said to me what the people of South Africa don't understand is a soldier to a soldier, politics and talking, it doesn't matter to a soldier. The soldier is there to keep the peace, and South African citizens have fallen into this habit. Every second guy with a cell phone that's not a journalist, because journalists wouldn't do that. Most of us, we know our boundaries. We've got good relations with these guys, relationships with most of them. So you get pulled over at a roadblock. What's the first thing that most entitled South Africans feel that they can do? Well, we whip out the cell phone, we stick it into the policeman's face, and we tell him, how dare you speak to me like this? I'm going to put you on Facebook. We're going to make you famous. Yep. Try that nonsense. Try that shit with a soldier. Try that. And see how far it's going to get you. And what this guy said to me, this policeman, was very true. The police are expected to control aggravated, agitated, aggressive crowds. And the moment that a police officer points a finger at someone, he might lose his job and his pension because it's considered assault. Bring in the army and you're going to see a different story. I promise you. Try and put your cell phone into a soldier's face and tell him you're going to make him famous. I'm just saying. People, there's another thing coming. This is lifestyle. Lifestyle's still full. People are queuing inside there to get into Checkers. Old friend of mine from school. So people aren't queuing at the banks or at the pharmacy anymore. They're also not really queuing at Food Lovers. But there's quite a big queue at Checkers. So I don't know, are we going to use the excuse that we haven't had time to go and do our monthly groceries every day? You know, as far as I know, as far as my understanding goes, lockdown means you stay in your freaking house. That's what it means. And it was also the reason for all this panic buying or the panic shopping. $16 million people in our streets in a week. 16 million people. Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole object of a lockdown? It defeats everything, in my opinion. So now, how many of those people have infected other people and other... So, I'm not the brightest spark in the bonnet, I suppose. Because some of my friends have tried to explain to me that we're looking at the wrong numbers. You need to look at exponential growth and, you know, all of that. So, okay, I understand that. So you're telling me that 16 million people standing in close contact with each other, if 2 of those people are positive for the coronavirus, how many people are going to test positive by next week? I mean, there we had that guy that came from Gauteng, and they found him in Mamitwa. And he was positive. So how many people do you think were in the city centre of Tzaneen and Nkuankua and Linyenye, and Market Plaza, for example? How many of those people do you think were from Mamitwa? Like I said, maybe I'm doof. Well, we're getting some much needed rain. At least that's something. So my question, another question I have is, where are all of those police officers and traffic officers that we saw today rush to get a selfie with our esteemed minister? Where are all of them today? Where are they right now? I don't see them. I don't see them walking around. How is it that so many people can come in and out of that temporary homeless shelter at Jetty 3 with no records of who they are or who they were in touch with? That place is supposed to be closed off. Why did they not move them to across the dam at Marinsky? Not Marinsky High School. But, yeah, who knows? Nobody will know. Right, guys, please remember that our newspaper is still available in digital format. It will be available to you for free to download by this afternoon. Most likely by 7 o'clock. It'll give you some nice reading material. I know the videos stay live. Well, the videos stay online even after we've gone live. We've been very fortunate so far to have some of the guys who want to climb on board, and they're going to be sponsoring the show so we can at least keep going. Thank you very much for everybody who's made a contribution. Thank you to the guys who are keeping us on the road regarding the diesel. And thank you to each and every one of you for staying at home and for joining me, even if it's virtually, for this drive. Please remember, you can share these videos. Invite all of your friends, your connections, your contacts, invite all of them to join. What are you saying there, Tony? Terry? Okay, so Terry Steele, thank you for that. Yes, I did find out today that there was it's quite sad really. There was a baby, an infant, who died today, passed away, and I believe that the infant's one of the infant's parents is a SAPS policeman, SAPS officer. I've spoken to General Maggie Matebula, the cluster commander for Tzaneen, and she confirmed this, but she also said that there's nothing untoward. The baby had been sick for quite a while, he had been ill. So our condolences to that SAPS member. It's quite sad when that happens. It's very sad, in fact. So if anybody who knows that SAPS officer, just passing his condolences on behalf of the community, would be appreciated. So get as many of your friends to like and follow this channel. Get involved in the discussion. Stay updated. Stay informed. It's live. Bulletin goes live to the front lines, really. And we're bringing you all the news as it happens. It's unedited. Unadulterated truth, if you want to call it that. I don't think there's much left for me to say for this afternoon's show. We will publish our newspaper here on this page tonight, give you guys something to read for the weekend. If something happens between now and tomorrow morning 9 o'clock, I will definitely go live and take you with me. I hope that you guys experienced a bit of what it's like to be a journalist today, running around trying to get an interview with, or get a question at least in to the minister, having to contend with bystanders and other media guys. It was fun. It's what we do. So, and another thing, before I forget, I put that poll up and a lot of you have voted. The votes are in. I'll publish the results. So we have a name for our show. If you want to find out what the name is and who won, then keep your eyes on this channel. Great stuff. Thank you guys. Be safe. Have a good evening.